So, what really happens at the end of Elden Ring Nightreign? You might have seen streaks of greys, giant trees waking up, or even cradled a crying infant. But what does any of it mean? There are 4 actual endings in Elden Ring Nightreign. Sure, there are more remembrance quests and personal character arcs, but only 4 endings actually roll the credits. Everything else are just questline conclusions. So, to truly understand Nightreign's endings, we need to focus on those 4. The main ending, which I will call Dawn, and the remembrance endings for Wilder, Iron Eye, and Recluse. Now, in classic From Software fashion, these endings are buried in mystery, but surprisingly, a lot of it are clearer than you would expect. So let's dive into each ending of Nightreign, uncover what they really mean, and maybe, just maybe, understand the nature of the night itself. My name is wasticSON, and I hope you do enjoy this video. Now, when you beat the game in the most straightforward way, you unlock an achievement called Dawn. So that is what I'm calling this core default ending. This is what most players will experience the first time they beat the final Night Lord. All they have to do is defeat the Soul of Cinder boss and present the Primordial Night Lord's rune to the corpse you find in the ash-covered roundtable hold. What happens next is simple but loaded with symbolism. You kneel before the corpse, you offer the rune, it crumbles, and then it disintegrates. Now, according to the rune description, it contains properties like a great rune, harbored by the Primordial Night Lord. It is not necessarily a great rune itself, but it holds similar power. That lines up with the original Elden Ring, where many endings were tied to powerful runes. But this rune actually crumbles. We could assume it was the Night's source of power, and with it crumbling, that power also ends. So, we rise, walk out of the undead asylum, and fade into a blinding white light. A collage of shots from the rest of the roundtable hold shows more streaks of light flying by and leaving. They all leave the hold and the night gives way to a blinding white light. Now, as the credits roll, we see the streaks of light that I mentioned earlier. If we count them, we get 8 streaks of light, 1 for each Nightfarer. That is not just a cinematic choice, it suggests they are not dead. This is very important because it suggests that each Nightfarer meets the same fate as us. They all become light or grace or something beyond. But there is more to this. Now, from the Duchess's quest to save her brother, whom we know to be Wilder, we know that Nightfarers can have some kind of existence outside the roundtable hold. In fact, they might even survive the end of the night if the right conditions are met. Duchy sends the Iron Menial out on the mission with a blessed iron coin, hoping to deliver it to Wilder in the outside world. Why do you think she did this? The answer to that question is to give his grace something to aim for, so it can find its way back to his body. And here's the key idea. This means that these streaks of grace could actually return to the Nightfarers' real bodies out in the world. They might even be revived, kind of like the tarnished are revived by grace in the base game Elden Ring. Wilder's case is unique and different because he is already dying from injuries in the outside world. If not for that, he would be just fine after the night ends. But with the other Nightfarers, if they weren't mortally wounded like Wilder, they might just live on without dying. After the credits, we get one more scene, which is a keynote moment. We see the camera pan to a glowing air tree standing tall above a new restored lands between. The wrapped earth of Limveld is gone and now back to Limgrove, solid and familiar like the world we tarnished new. So what does this all mean? In my opinion, it could mean that Nightreign took place in an alternate dimension, or maybe the night itself warped the lands between, and now that the night is over, the land is reverting. If you look closely enough, you see that the air tree has the same ethereal glow and cracks on its trunk, just like in the main game Elden Ring. We do know that the shattering happened here, so the lands between are probably in the same states as they were in Elden Ring. This post-night setting could easily be that same setting in which the Tarnished comes to the lands. But despite the golden tone of this scene, this is still a broken land, a world that now needs an age of stars perhaps. But hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself. This is Nightreign's ending, not Elden Ring, and this cutscene isn't over. After a cutscene of the air tree, a single glowing leaf falls from the air tree and lands on a mass of gnarled wood. The wood stirs and a great giant awakens, a towering tree figure that looks just like the first face of the primordial Night Lord. It also matches the ghostly giants you see walking around Limveld during your Nightreign runs. I mean, those ones who march silently towards the sprouting tree where the final boss fight happens. But here's the twist. This tree giant does not attack. It just stands and stares at the tree as it emits black smoke and rains debris, kind of like the squatted tree does in Shadow of the Air Tree. And then it turns away, walks off across the water and into the distance. So what was that giant? It is likely an integral part of the night itself. While the exact nature of this giant may be hard to parse, we do have some clues. Remember, it looks identical to the giant we see walking around Limveld. While smaller, the first phase of the Primordial Night Lord fight also looks extremely familiar or similar. These facts plus the fact that the tree giant is shown standing up and walking away from the lands between after the night has been quelled can let us safely say that it is an integral part of the night itself. And I think here it is important to draw a distinction between the night and the Night Lord. Remember, Iron Eye once described the night as a natural phenomenon, not inherently good or evil, and this tree giant, it looks like the first phase of the final boss, which is a creature called Shape of the Night. But it does not look like Hellstor in the second phase. So this implies that the giant we see is a manifestation of the night itself, now free of Hellstor's influence. After all, we just defeated Hellstor, so the night should not be influenced or directed by him anymore. Now, Hellstor, as we learned, was once a knight, a sword knight and not a knight of darkness. He failed his people and was felled by a hero, possibly Radagon. Some even speculate Hellstor was a carrier knight who fought in the Leorian Wars, given that he wields the Moonlight Greatsword. And as you might know, the Dark Moon Greatsword is deeply tied to the Carrion lineage in Elden Ring. So maybe Hellstor was defeated in the Leorian Wars by Radagon and the Golden Order and was resurrected by the knights full of rage. And that rage, it cursed the lands between, giving birth to Nightreign. The item description of the Night Shard says, the night has limitless rage. It responds to those who seek it. It can be feared or welcomed and adapts to whoever touches it. This all reinforces the idea that the night may be a malleable kind of force of nature, something which can take on different aspects as it could have been prompted to become the destructive force we know it as, all because of Helstor's anguish, which also suggests that the night was warped by Helstor's suffering. So now here at the end, with Helstor gone, the night is free again. The tree giant, awakened by grace, walks away perhaps in search of a new soul to bond with. Now, I think the picture I just painted is mostly accurate except the fact that Helstor, being a Carrion, is a bit iffy to me because the Lyrian Wars are said to have ended in basically a stalemate, with their resolution only being achieved by Radagon marrying Ranala. Maybe we could say that Helstor was just in a section of the war where his area got destroyed. But if not, he still could have been a knight of some group which fought and was defeated by the Order. Maybe he is from the Weeping Peninsula or some other land not directly in the lands between as we know them. We don't have proof that he fought Radagon, but it would be a good fate. And Helstor is weak to holy damage. Having some form of this overall story being true will do a good job at explaining what we see in the final scene with the giant tree. So thematically, something along the lines of what I have so far explained rings pretty true to me. If you were just to see the Dawn ending, this will be a pretty good overall explanation. But Nightreign gives us 3 more credit cutscenes, so let's see what we can learn from them. Now let's talk about one of the darkest endings, Iron Eye. If you complete Iron Eye's Remembrance quest and makes a specific choice at the end, you will get a very different conclusion. In the process, you will learn that Iron Eye is part of the Fellowship, a mercenary group of assassins. Their seal bears the centipede of death. Throughout his quest, you will read journal entries which are letters between him and his master Isolde. His mission seems to be about hunting down a traitor to the Fellowship who is another assassin who turned against the Order. Eventually, you find his traitor in the Round Table Hold. You try to kill him, but you don't succeed. However, in the process, you obtain the Edge of Order, a spear fragment that can slay the undead. And then comes the reveal. The traitor tells us that we are dead. We are part of those who live in death, cursed to exist until the Night Lord is defeated. Soon after, we receive one final letter from Isolde, and it seems this letter is blood-stained. She tells us her dream. Fellowship Shions, like us, are meant to be disposed of once they've served their purpose according to Isolde. But if the night never ends, then they cannot be discarded. They will keep fighting forever. So Isolde wants us to take the night's power and make the night eternal. And Iron Eye does exactly that. The traitor then says the battle was a pleasure, at least until his change of heart. Maybe an endless night of battle can be an endless night of pleasure. In Iron Eye's ending, we achieve this never-ending night. At the end, instead of offering the rune to the corpse, he cuts its throat, and it seems even as a corpse, it had some kind of life essence. Then Iron Eye turns and walks away from the now extra dead corpse, saying the most edged Lord line ever: "The night is far from over." This ending is grim and direct. What he's done is simple. He has prevented the night from ending. The corpse, likely an embodiment of the night's influence, can no longer retrieve the rune. Instead, the night continues, carrying Helstor's characterization. Why? Because Iron Eye wants the Fellowship to live on. To me, it seems like the corpse is the incarnation of the night itself, kind of like the giant tree except the giant tree is the incarnation of the night in the outside world. And within the night itself, when it is active in changing the world, the corpse seems to be its standing or its medium. So Iron Eye killing the corpse means that the Night Lord rune cannot be offered to it to end the night. Instead, it holds on to the characterization given by the current Night Lord Hailstorm to keep the children of the Fellowship alive and free to fight to their heart's content. The Iron Eye has potentially made a night which will never end unless the corpse can heal itself and comes back after a few days or another run, but who knows? We have nothing to say for certain. The remembrance skin of Iron Eye after killing the corpse gives him a flaming right eye, possibly symbolic, possibly literal, possibly linking to the name Iron Eye. Either way, it marks a transformation. We will dig deeper into that in a future Iron Eye lore video. Now, let's talk about Wilder, the face of Nightreign. And his alternate ending is one of the most emotionally powerful endings in the game. Through his quest line, we discover that Wilder and the priestess, also known as Duchess, are currently brother and sister. Both have their own character arcs, learning about one another, reuniting through faith, and honestly, their story is surprisingly wholesome. Wilder's motivation is vengeance. He seeks to destroy the night because it destroyed his clan. But this family bond with the Duchess reframes everything. We learn the priestess is essentially the anchor of the Round Table Hold, and when the Night Lord falls, the hold falls too, which means she is doomed unless something changes. But we also learn that the priestess may be freed from this if the Round Table Hold is remade through the creation of a new night. In Wilder's ending, we achieve this new night creation. During Wilder's journey, we find a silver tear deep in the Eternal City. This isn't just a lore item. The tear is described as a kernel of life, straddling the line between living and inanimate, also known as Laval Tear. Once in the lands between, it was said to have granted one a new form. If you remember from Elden Ring, Laval Tears were used to respec your character, but here in Nightreign, the stakes are much higher. Once you defeat Hailstorm, you now get a new choice. Instead of going to the corpse and altering the night, you go to Hailstorm's body, and then you touch it. A cutscene plays where you pull out the silver tear, place it in your own chest, and collapse next to the fallen Night Lord. Then time passes, a great amount of time that is, suggested by the amount of sand or ash collecting on the old swords. Then we see footsteps. A new Night Lord rises and walks off into the distance. All of Hailstorm's 3 weapons are left behind, clearly showing that this isn't just a resurrection. This is something new. It is Wilder, or at least a Wilder-shaped form of the Night Lord. After that, you receive an item which is Wilder's earrings, which says that this new Wilder Lord clutched the relic of him and his sister as he journeyed forward. In his final entry, we are told that the Round Table Hold would form again, preparing to confront a new night. A new cycle then begins. But Wilder Lord will never know if his sister was truly freed, and we the player doesn't know either. The story leaves us with ambiguity in the form of hope and sorrow. If my theory holds true, this new night is no longer shaped by Hailstorm's bitterness, but by Wilder's ideals. And if so, what would this new night look like? Would it be peaceful, redemptive, or just another tragedy in a different form? It is hard to say, but I must say it does set the stage for some serious DLC. Now, finally, we come to Recluse, the most mysterious, haunting, and surreal of the night fairies. Her remembrance quest reveals a deep connection to the night and the shadow that defines it. Recluse is a witch of the deep woods. She came to Limfield in search of something hidden, something coiled in shadow, something she called a beloved infant. Her journey states she gave birth to this infant but as a witch, meaning the birth was likely magical or unnatural, and she wasn't alone. She had a companion, the Witch of the Wheel, who is a sister-like figure who helped raise the child. This infant was terrifying. It could eat anything, even shadows. They even brought it to battlefields where it devoured entire armies. But then it lost itself. One day, it lost control and turned on its own side. In her journal, Recluse admits she failed. She saw the infant to be a frightened child, not as a threat. She didn't comfort it or give it warmth. As a result, it gave in to fear and went on a rampage, and in the process killing the Witch of the Wheel. But her body was left shorn of shadow, and then the infant disappeared, as we learn from the journal. Later in the quest, Recluse theorizes that the infant met the Night Lord and even tried to eat the Night Lord's shadow. Now, the Iron Menial, who you can send to research Shards of Night, finds a document describing the same battle from the Recluse's journal. It mentions a beast that devours shadow. The Iron Menial adds something important, stating that the tooth marks left behind from the creature matches the same strange patterns on the Night Shards. The Night Shard itself tells us that there is a shadow-like pattern on it, seemingly the traces of something eating away at it. It sounds like the infant came across the Night Shard and tried to eat it. That is right, the infant may have bitten into the night itself. Here, the implication is that the infant may have been imbued with the night and in the process might have become a Night Lord, just like Hiostor. Now, here's where the theory deepens. What if the Night Lord isn't a single being, but a composite? The same composite I explained in my other video when I was breaking down the Executor story. If you have not watched that video, kindly check it out to understand the concept of composites in Elden Ring. I will put the video link in the description box below. Now, back to the Night Lord being a composite. We already fight multiple forms of the Night Lord, defeating each boss before the Primordial. Each one that we fight is Air or the Night Lord. It could be that the Night can take in multiple people and creatures, and they all collectively constitute the Night Lord. Like the Soul of Cinder, the Night Lord might be an amalgamation fused from multiple beings touched by the night. And the infant we spoke about might have been the first. Both the Iron Menial and the Witch of the Wheel heavily imply that the Night Lord is the infant. I think the infant could even be the original Night Lord. But then, why does Recluse's journal say the infant had an audience with the Night Lord? So could it be that the night consumed the infant, or the infant rather consumed the Night Lord? Maybe they merged, or maybe the infant failed to devour the night entirely and instead became part of it some way, somehow. And I think this lends some credence to the idea that the Night Lord we face is an amalgamation, the product of many creatures' interactions with the night, not just a single one. But there is more to this. The Iron Menial eventually finds a bone-like stone, which is a gift in a dream from something resembling the Night Lord. The item is the bone of an outer god. It can either expunge divine essence or be destroyed by it. It says that a choice was left to the witch as per the wishes of the one who bestowed it, who I assume is the Night Lord. Now, with this otherworldly stone acquired, we get to one final option at the end of the game. Instead of offering the corpse the rune, you will hear the sound of an infant crying in the round table hold. You follow the cries of the infant, which leads you to the beds of the hold, the same place where we once found the vestige of night. There you find the infant, small, normal-sized and human. As a recluse, we are given the option to lay a hand on the infant. You place your hand on the infant, offer the warmth you once failed to give as a mother, make amends, and then the screen fades to black. We get no extra scene, no explanation, no test, just silence. Here, the recluse made good on the wrongs of her past, or at least some of them, but we don't know what impact this has on the Knights of the Night Lord. Did we prevent the Night Lord from ever rising? Did we rewrite the past, or is this simply closure for Recluse, a spiritual ending and not a cosmic one? If it is, then maybe this stops the body from becoming the Night Lord or part of the Night Lord. We can probably say that this choice constitutes not killing the Night Lord, at least in its active later form. We can't say what happens to it, because the screen immediately fades to black. We don't know if the night ends, but despite these uncertainties, I do think this quest and ending shed light on the nature of the night and the Night Lord. And maybe, hopefully, we will get to see more in whatever DLC the game releases in the future. But this choice is profound. It changes the emotional tone of the entire game, and it might just be the most human act in all of Elden Ring Nightreign. For now, I believe that explains the core of each ending. There is plenty more to touch on lore-wise for almost all of this, especially the knocks of their connection, potentially where the knight came from, but I will save those for a future video, and I hope you enjoyed this one. So in conclusion, each ending offers a different lens into the Knight and the Night Lord. Dawn brings light back to the world, but with the haunting question, what happens next? Iron Eye gives us a world trapped in war and darkness forever. Wilder reshapes the cycle with a new lord, but leaves us uncertain of what he truly becomes. And Recluse chooses forgiveness and motherhood, a quiet redemption in a world filled with sorrow. So now I ask you, which ending did you get first, and which one do you think is the true fate of Nightreign? Let me know in the comments below. Now I want to say thank you to my patrons who support the channel, and if you want more lore deep dives, character analysis, and upcoming DLC breakdowns, hit that subscribe button and join the journey. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.